our broadcast. I'm your host, Michael Slim Lange, and this is Oakland Is. Today we're going to get the opportunity to revisit with Feather River Camp up in the Plumas National Forest. With me are two special guests, Miss Lily Kaplan, who is the director of Feather River Camp and a member of the board of directors of Camps in Common, and Miss Rue Mapp, who is also a director of the Life Program and Afro Outdoors. Many years ago, about maybe 10 or so, we went to Feather River Camp and we took pictures of the power and the majesty of this special place. So today we're going to invite you to join in with us as we get a chance to revisit Feather River Camp. I want to welcome both of you to the program.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. Oh, first things first, we have to kind of start off with the Feather River Camp operation, how long it's been in operation. I know it's been many, many years. Can you help us with that, either one of you?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, Oakland Feather River Camp was founded in 1924 by a man named J.B. Nash. And J.B. Nash is known as the father of recreation.
Yes, he is.
And he was a man who had a vision. And that vision was to create a place out of the city for urban dwellers to experience the renewal of their soul. Mm-hmm. And he was active in the same time period that John Muir was doing his work to save Yosemite and make a national park out of it. And John Muir said, going to the mountains is going home. Mm-hmm. And Oakland Feather River Camp is a home away from home.
So it was a vision of a sort. We think that far back. I mean, that's almost 90 years, I guess, since Feather River Camp is now kind of graduating. I wanted to ask you, how is the camp operated today? I imagine that there have been some changes over those years.
Well, 8 to 10 years ago, the city of Oakland was unfortunately about to close the camp because of budgetary reasons. And campers were outraged. And 3 campers in particular, their names are Terry Cullinan, Judy Marquardt Norris, and Jill Rose. These 3 campers rallied all these families who have been going to the camp for generations to have a camp-in on the steps of City Hall. Mm-hmm. And the city of Oakland said, all right, we'll keep it open, but you run it. And that's how Camps in Common was born and formed. And now Camps in Common, a very small nonprofit, runs this camp.
Wow, that's beautiful. So it's now been 8 or 9 years that the camp has been operating with a new under a new paradigm, I imagine. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, Rue, you're starting a program there, but you have some history with Feather River Camp.
I do. I actually used to go to Feather River when I was a child. And so when I got older and I started a family of my own, we began our tradition of going up to Feather River. And we started going right around the time that Camps in Common took over the administration of the camp. Mm-hmm. And we've bonded with the community, and we look forward to going every single year. Mm-hmm. I would say that probably every January, my kids start singing camp songs and asking if we've registered. So I have a long tradition of attending the camp. Mm-hmm. That's a very big part of my family. But outside of camp, and really my passion for the outdoors started through my experiences at camp at Feather River. I recently began a venture called Outdoor Afro, which started off as a blog just to get the conversation going and to help make visible people who were already experiencing outdoor recreation of all kinds. But it's gone from a blog to a very national conversation and almost a movement. So Lily and I were talking at camp and noticed that the camp really didn't reflect the demographics of the Oakland area, and certainly didn't reflect a lot of low income access. So we just started brainstorming and keeping the conversation alive. And one day she called me and she had an idea. And
Outdoor Afro was born.
Well, Outdoor Afro was already in motion, but the program that she and I decided to do together as Outdoor Afro and as Camps in Common, she called me, and I'll let you
Thank you.
tell you about the conversation.
Well, among other programs at Feather River Camp, we came up with the idea of having one called Life, because to me, getting into nature, community in nature, families, youth, whomever, being out in a beautiful wilderness setting is restorative to our life.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning with that acronym in my mind. Life is for low-income families for the environment.
Wow.
And that's life.
Yeah. You know, I just was wondering what perceptions people have of camp that would not want them to come. I imagine the bugs, I need my electric blanket, you know. But what are some of the perks or some of the attributes of the camp that would attract people?
Well, we have lots of different ways for people to attend our camp, first of all. We have cabins that are wooden cabins with beds. We have tent cabins, which are canvas-covered frames with wooden floors with cots in them. We provide 3 meals a day. Delicious food, by the way.
You mean they don't have to cook?
No.
They don't have to cook. All they have to do. This is comfort luxury camping at its finest.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important distinction to make, because when people think about camping, they think about sometimes suffering. And, you know, they think about even hard labor. You know, this is a place that's just flattens all the barriers that people might have about being in the outdoors by providing some of the baseline comforts. But in addition to having the tent and the hot food and programs is the community. So you're not there alone.
This community is not here in the proper Bay Area, though, right? It's a little ways away.
We are about 4.5 hours from the Bay Area, which is, I think, one of our greatest assets.
Yes.
And people find it to be an obstacle until they've had the experience of coming. And the reason that I think it's not an obstacle is once you're about halfway there, you enter into one of the most magnificent canyons I have ever driven through in my life. There are huge granite outcroppings and the rushing Feather River with this clean, fresh water and the vistas. I mean, it could end up taking you longer because you stop so many times to enjoy the beautiful place.
Definitely.
And
Take you half a day to get there.
it's so gorgeous. And I always say to people when they're asking me on the phone how to get there, I say, your camping trip starts when you enter that Feather River Canyon.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And your relaxation begins. So that once you're there, I will tell you that after the first nights, usually after someone has spent their first night at camp and they wake up the next morning, they seem to have a whole new outlook on life. And it only takes one night.
Wow.
By that next morning, their faces are different, and they have this kind of sense of having been somewhere
Yeah.
already. In their first night and their first day seems like, wow, I've been gone from my busy, hectic, overburdened life for a week.
Yeah, so some of the assets are that you get a chance to leave the environment that you're in, the urban environment.
Exactly.
You're getting into more of a wilderness environment, and then I imagine there's campfires, there's nature walks, there's sports. Talk to me about the activities that happen at camp.
You know, there are the structured activities, and then there are the activities that just spontaneously occur out of the community that gets molded or bound together.
And friendships develop as a result.
Absolutely. I mean, camping has started some long-term relationships where people come back to Oakland and they're still recreating the magic at camp through social events. So it's more than just the structure, but it's about also the community that comes from being in the environment that Lily describes so well.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of the physical things at the campsite. Like I know that there is a train or a caboose that's there, and then there's a veranda. But talk to me about some of the assets that are physically on the campsite that families and children, teens can enjoy.
Well, it is. First of all, it's like a little tiny village within this greater, larger, pristine wilderness environment. And we're in a valley. So no matter which direction you look, you're seeing a beautiful view. And on one side is the Spanish Creek, this beautiful creek with rushing water, and we've dammed it so we have a beautiful swimming hole with a beach.
Yes.
And that's a really great spot. And kids light up when they get in the water. So whether you come with your kids or the kids are in our youth camp, the kids love to play in the water. And they like to rent inner tubes and float all the way, go upstream and float down and get out at our beach.
You got horses there?
We have horses for every weekend for trail rides.
Good.
The train, as you mentioned, runs on the other border of the camp, and that's just very, for a lot of people, it's kind of romantic.
Yeah, yeah, having
You know, have that-
feel like
that
a train's
whistle.
coming
Yeah.
into your cabin.
And one other big perk that a lot of people don't realize is that there's a tot lot that's there.
Oh, yes.
So if you've got a toddler, mom and dad can have a little break in the morning, and their kids can be doing age-appropriate activities with other kids, and a fine staff from year to year.
Well, let's
manage
talk about
that.
the staff. I mean, I know that it takes people to run a mountain camp, and you mentioned you get your 3 meals. You mentioned child care. What kind of other services and how many staff are there to produce these outcomes?
We have approximately 30 staff every summer.
Okay.
And every single morning there are a range of activities. So we have kid activities, we have tot activities, we have adult activities. Every single morning you have a choice. And for those parents who want a little break to go take a nap or read a book, in our survey we found out that hanging out and relaxing is one of the top 4 priorities
Sure.
of our campers. So
And not having to worry about cooking a meal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the meals, I imagine, are well balanced for vegetarians and for...
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The meals are delicious. It's served buffet style, and there's a salad bar that's there. I mean,
So
I
there's
don't think I
another-
eat more salad at any other time of the year
Then
than
at
at
that time.
camp.
But that's another community.
Absolutely.
I mean, you create community. So now that my stomach's full, I can do a half a dozen things during the day. How are the evening activities?
well, that's what I was just so excited when you were talking a minute ago. I wanted to say that I have the most amazing picture of Rue and her son Billy dancing their hearts out at disco bingo.
Oh,
Disco
disco
bingo.
bingo.
And it
love
sounds
disco
a
bingo.
little corny or campy,
Yeah.
but it's a really favorite activity. And if you get a G10, on your bingo card, you have to yell it out and do your disco move, and everybody does it with you, and it's a blast. And that's on our big patio that's under a tent. And we have disco bingo, we have campfires, we have singing around the fire. Of course, we have s'mores, and marshmallows are a favorite activity of the kids.
The talent show and ice cream socials, and I mean, there's always something going on in the evening that brings the community together just wonderfully.
Financially speaking, is it expensive, kind of middle ground? I mean, as opposed to, say, if I wanted to go to vacation in Honolulu, would I save money coming?
You probably pay about 30% of what you would pay to go away somewhere on a
Wow,
family
that's a lot.
vacation.
Yeah, because the hidden cost is, in addition to going away someplace, you're going to have to pay for meals, you're going to have to pay for transportation costs, and the drive up to Feather River is nothing compared to a plane ride for 4 people. I have a family of 4, and so I think that's a perfect option for a family if they want to get away to try a vacation at Feather River, because it's not only, I mean, we've talked a lot about how gratifying it is, but it's also very economical compared to other options like Disneyland.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking a chance to stick your toe in the water is like taking an opportunity to go to Feather River Camp versus some other destination. So that's a wonderful metaphor, I guess we'll call it for now.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the city of Oakland is very committed to making sure that Oakland Feather River Camp is affordable. And Camps in Common, who operates the camp, has an agreement with the city of Oakland to be sure that our fees are lower than any other family camp in the Bay Area.
Good.
And we are significantly lower. And we offer, as beautiful, we offer an incredible program. That's the most important thing.
And I know it takes organization to do this, and it may take other organizations, partnerships, collaborations, other things. Talk to me about Feather River and the people who are partnering or who are volunteering, who are off-season working with Feather River.
Well, there are two of us who run Oakland Feather River Camp year-round at Camps in Common, and it really does take a village. You can't
Okay.
do that whole thing with two people. So we have a Friends of Feather River Camp organization who volunteers. We are doing fundraisers a couple of times a year, and in order to create this life program, and I don't want to miss really highlighting this, low-income families for the environment, the life program is something we're just beginning to build.
Like this year?
This
Yes.
is brand new,
Okay.
and Outdoor Afro and Camps in Common are creating this as a collaborative thing.
Yes.
And we're really excited about it.
Sure.
And we're just now writing our grant proposals, and we're looking for funding, and it will break barriers, and I think Rue can talk about this somewhat better than I can, but I will say it breaks the barrier of transportation. We will bring 10 families to Oakland Feather River Camp. All they need to do, they'll need to apply, and there will be a small financial contribution from their end, but this program will be funded for low-income families to be able to get to camp. They will get on a bus, they'll come together, and they'll come back together back here in the Bay Area monthly. So we really build a relationship with the outdoors. It's really important. Camps in Common's mission is to celebrate the connections between family, community, and nature.
Okay.
And to do that through unique opportunities for cultural diversity, youth empowerment, and environmental awareness. And the environmental awareness is the part that got me going here. I wanted to say how a relationship with nature, a relationship with the outdoors is so much a part of our mission that we want to bring people from the urban environment to that larger than human life, bigger other than human life, because that brings a whole new dimension of spirituality or magic or whatever you call it, and we want to reach people who could not otherwise come. And
Yeah, I was gonna
Rue
say,
can
that's-
speak a lot more about that.
Yeah, recently I attended a conference called Breaking the Color Barrier in the Great American Outdoors in Atlanta, Georgia back in September.
Okay.
And we talked a lot about what were the barriers between people of color and the outdoors. And we believe that a lot of the low-income families we'll reach out to may be of color as well, which would be great. But I think it's really clear, we need to make clear that people of color have always had a relationship to the outdoors.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm at no means positioning myself as bringing this concept to people of color for the very first time. I always like to frame it as reconnection, remembering. Think about our parents and our grandparents who lived in very close contact with the land. It was an everyday thing to grow your food or to raise animals or to know what the stars look like away from an urban sky. So it's not about reinventing the wheel, but rather saying, hey, remember what this is, and hopefully waking up in people's consciousness what's already been there. But some of the barriers, unfortunately, have been a lack of representation, a lack of outreach, and one of the things that got really clear to me as a result of my participation in the conference is that sometimes there are programs that are focused on youth but don't really take the whole family into account. So in other words, if we don't think of this as a multi-generational approach, then we really miss a big opportunity to help transform how families relate to the outdoors.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a reconnection going on here, but historically and traditionally, this group, particularly say African Americans,
Yes.
have been left out. They don't even see that that there is a need for them to be there. What
Right.
you're creating is the need for them to be in community with
Yes.
their families intact. I mean, just going there, and then once we get there, meaning Feather River, then the magic and the power and the majesty begin. And so that's all
Absolutely.
healthy.
Absolutely. And, a place like Feather River, as we've mentioned before, is such an easy place for people to go to because it flattens a lot of the psychological barriers that people might have about what's really involved. And as Lily mentioned, people will come back from the life program, the immersion part, the camp part, and engage with activities and with organizations right in their own backyard that they might not have known about, such as Golden Gate Audubon or local urban gardening programs. There are so many different ways that people can connect. I mean, just thinking about our East Bay Regional Parks is one example of a wide network of outdoor wild spaces and programs that people probably don't even know exist. So we want to really connect people powerfully with community, but also with the opportunities that they don't have to even drive 4.5 hours away to get to.
You mentioned a little bit earlier when we were off the air, but we talked about an immersion type program where there's a preparation period, there's a separation period. Can you speak to that for me?
Sure. Well, before the families, first of all, they'll need to call us and apply. We expect a big outpouring of interest in this program. And for our first year, we're going to keep it to 10 families of approximately 4, so about 40 people. So those 40 people will come together, they'll start to get to know each other, they'll start to build their community, they'll take their family community and blend it into a larger human community. Then that will begin their preparation for coming to camp, learning what does it take to go camping. How do we, what are the supplies that we need? A lot is provided at Feather River Camp, but they'll still need to bring some things. They'll need a sleeping bag and bring their own things. So a lot of preparation and education. Some education about, well, what's it like to be out in the outdoors?
Right.
Right? So then they'll come to camp and then they'll have that powerful, larger community. So the larger human community and the larger other than human community that exists.
Which is everything else that's out there. I imagine that that people, think, well, if there are bears out there or spiders or snakes and things like that. But this is their home too. I mean, we're actually coming into their place. And of course, the Mayadu Indians who live tangentially to this area are still in the Plumas National Forest. So I can imagine that they've had some relationship, hopefully, with the camp or developing it. Then there's a totem pole, of course, that's there, and depending on who you talk to, they say all these totem poles are connected. So here we are connecting again. We find that I am part of the animal. That live here, and there may be a fox there, a mosquito or whatever it happens to be. But this is all part of the new discovery of who I am. How do you take this experience at Feather River and then come back into the urban center, the urban city of Oakland, let's say, and apply what you've learned and experienced at Feather River to the community?
Well, I think you brought up a couple of really interesting points. One is about the notion of safety and feeling secure. Quite frankly, outdoor and wild spaces are sometimes more safe than the neighborhoods that people live in.
Oh, yes.
But what it really speaks to is a lack of ability or the unknown, and a lack of feeling of control. And one of the things that happens when you engage in wild space or natural spaces is that you really kind of get a sense of who you are as part of something much bigger. And you take that philosophy with you wherever you go, whether you're in an urban space or whether you're in your families and you're relating, you connect to something bigger and powerful than you are. And you also are more in tune with your impact, that you really do make a difference for good or maybe for not so good. And that philosophy, you can apply that in any aspect of life.
Well, I'm hoping that your program becomes institutionalized, meaning national public debate, so that other cities, I'm sure that any city or municipality that owns or operates or leases a campsite probably has some of the same facts and figures that you have, and you're breaking through. You're getting a group of people who traditionally have not done this type of program in the past, and probably because it does bring up stuff. I don't need to be there. It's easier just to say no. I don't want to go do this.
Well, there's the elephant in the room. People think that non-people of color participate in those activities. Like
Yeah.
Black people don't camp. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You know? And so one of the things I've been doing with Outdoor Afro is having these really frank discussions about what the barriers are, like fear of nappy hair,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but also saying, you know what, you can be whoever you are. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to be a hippie chick. You
Yeah.
can be super feminine and like your high heels
Yeah.
and still love the outdoors.
Sure.
It's not about either or. It's not about fitting into a box. And there's a lot of people of color who are out there doing really amazing things in the outdoors, but who go through this feeling of thinking that they're the only ones. They
Yeah.
go camping, they go hiking, and they're treated like a curiosity in
Yeah.
those places by
Yeah.
the people who they come across. So it's really important for people to get away from these boxes of
Yeah.
what people are supposed to do based on what their income is or what their race is, and recognize that these are public lands that we all pay for.
Okay, well, in our closing minutes here, Lily, can you give me a little peek at the menu of different theme weeks that operate at
sure
Feather
can.
River Camp?
I sure can. And I want to just preface that with saying that what I say to people when they arrive is, you're just entered the living room of a whole lot of species. And it's really important when you're going to visit anybody to respect their space. So we are respecting the space of these other species, be them spiders,
Yeah.
snakes,
Yeah.
bears,
Yeah.
deer, hawks, eagles. We have it all.
And they'll get the message too, won't they? These spiders and these
Yes.
hawks, and they'll say, come on into the living room.
Or trees, or whatever. So we enter into that habitat, but I like to think of it as a great big living room. And then we come back to Oakland, and we find that that same living room exists all over our city.
Absolutely.
And there are pockets of it everywhere. And that is something that's really important to me, that people begin to understand that they go away to this very special place and they have this very powerful experience through these wonderful themes that you asked about. We have Roots, Earth and Her People. We have Folk Dance Week, Garage Band Week, Dance Week, all kinds of wonderful experiences.
Well, great. I want to thank both of you for coming on the program and sharing with our audience an opportunity just to reconnect.
Great to be
Unity
here.
and community. And I hope that you get a chance to contact Feather River Camp, Camps in Common. There's a phone number. We've seen some of the terrain and some of the descriptions of some of the programs that we've talked about. We've shown visuals of that. And I want to thank you all for joining in with us on our revisit to Feather River Camp. So let's go camping.
Yay.
Take care. Yeah.